And so I see myself on the screen, but look in the camera in front of me, correct? Okay. Because that one's not on. You know that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It doesn't work.
Zero viewers. This is like my regular office hours. I should have brought a book.
Is it on chat or Q&A?
Is there a difference? Let's take a look at. Guess the question is how they know to type anything in if they want to. Oh, yeah. I have sent Chuck an email as to what you do during dead time for office hours. I'm sure he has no idea.
Should have brought checkers.
I'm trying to learn how to knit. I'm not very good at it.
One viewer.
Yes. It'd be probably nice if I said hello too, but hello, one viewer who's probably my sister or my mother or my neighbor. Feel free to ask questions.
And now they laugh.
Then they laugh. That's awesome.
Now they're back.
I am curious if people know how to ask the questions. I should try it myself. Can't do it on here.
Ask your audience to submit questions.
And how do I ask them to do it? Just live?
Yep.
All right. So, hi, viewer. Not sure who you are. Thanks for coming to the first office hours. We have it set up so if you click on the Q&A button to the left side of the screen, you can go ahead and ask any questions. If you're just here to hang out and you're gone, that's fine. If you're just here to hang out, you can feel free to do that as well. Is there a way for me to... trying to log on myself. All right. So I see that someone is typing questions onto the main site and not the question and answer. So let me go ahead and see if I can't figure out a way to do this right now. Interesting. I'm wondering if it's not possible. Let's go back to chat instead of question and answer just for a second here. Did I do that wrong?
It's, yeah, for some reason, maybe you should post on the thing and just say, please go to the chat of Hangout, because you cannot make comment. We cannot see your comments on the event unless we go to the event page. That person commented on the event page, not the actual. See.
Yep. Better. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put up there. If anyone joins us, if they can go ahead and click on the play button, and then we'll be able to see their questions in the chat themselves. It's kind of off. Should be able to see it. Okay. Close that. Although it looks like for them, it's set up in the question and answer section. So I'll go over there instead.
Well, there it showed up right there. Hi, thanks for pushing your question.
That's me.
Okay, yep.
All right, Q&A. And it's not possibly for me to ask that same question, so let's go and do this. All right, so I did get the question, which is basically what kind of background you need to take these courses. I took it from the online site and I've posted it here on the question and answer, just in case other people come by and they'd like to see the types of things people asked. My course is specifically designed for people who have little to no background in technology at all. I really want to provide a place where you can learn some of the most basic concepts of HTML and CSS. So we start from the beginning right down to how people open files. Sometimes you want them to open up in Chrome, and sometimes you want them to open up in something called an editor. So you can go in and type it and make changes. So for that first HTML class, we really welcome everybody, although it might even go a little bit too slow for people who have programmed in the past. After the HTML course, there is an expectation that you have that one done before you take the CSS course or the JavaScript course, because they do build on those kind of general ideas. But really, we are aiming for that web design for everybody. And we're hoping that people who join us will be the kind who can really get some benefit from taking things slow, asking lots of questions, and things like that. So it looks like I have a little problem there. Can we wait a second?
There you go.
Mhm.
Says done.
Okay, great. I'll keep the other window open just in case people are typing their questions in the kind of link as well. But when you come to that link we sent out, what you want to do is you want to click on that play button, and then that way you can type in questions in the Q&A section.
Yeah, there's the comments.
Okay. See if I can get to it. All right. We're back down to one viewer.
I would just reply to on her comment right there, just in case she
Okay.
left and missed it.
All right. So I'll go ahead and answer down here as well. Thanks for asking a question, Sheila. And let's see if we can answer this again.
But I think you can reply directly to that message so that she can see the.
Oh, there we go. Thanks, Sai. I don't see that actual option. You want to take a look and see if you see it for me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, I think that's +1. You can't respond to a comment.
Welcome to technology, anybody who's on there. It really is for everybody, because even those of us who've been doing it for a long time have trouble sometimes doing what we would hope. So again, if you're here, thanks for coming. We're going to go ahead and hit on that button. And if that's still you, Sheila, thanks for asking the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks like her.
Yep, that looks about right. Change that for just a second. So you got your eye out in case, like a million people come logging in and asking me a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is the kind of thing I said I wish my mother was on Twitter or Coursera, because I'm sure she'd come on and ask me lots of questions just to make me feel better.
Oh, we got 3 viewers.
All right. Got it. Oh, actually, there we go right there.
Greetings from Croatia.
Oh, okay. Hi. Oh, okay. It looks like we've got 2 different questions. Let me go ahead and start with Christina O'Sullivan. Do you know of some open wiki type sites with regularly updated links to JavaScript intermediate tutorials? That's a great question, because I've been having some people ask me for extra references for JavaScript. And the issue with JavaScript tutorials is that they tend to be very specific to one application. It's better than Python, where at least they're web-based, but it's really hard to find something that's comprehensive. So I don't actually know of a wiki, but that's a great question, and I'm happy to keep searching. If and when I do find one, I will post it to both the JavaScript kind of optional materials in my JavaScript course. I'll also make sure I tweet it out, and I'll also just put out a request for other people who may know of an intermediate. It's really hard because I feel like there's this big jump between the very, very simple kind of toy problems we do and then some of the more complex. What a lot of people do is once they get the hang of JavaScript, just the basics, they switch and they move over to using jQuery and Ajax. So if you're looking to improve your skills, you may actually want to go in that direction because understanding JavaScript will help you with these other two. Okay, thanks. Mm-hmm. And then our next question, the question about the full stack web development. I do believe one of those courses already exists. It was, I think the proposal that was selected was from London, so you might want to check on one of those. We specifically didn't do the full stack. And when I say we, Chuck and I, our original vision was to do a kind of full stack web development course. But I really wanted to focus on kind of that, we call them newbies or newer programmer experience. And my hope is that once you finish my course, you'll be able to go in and kind of jump in on those. But I would be on the lookout for a course from Chuck Severance in the future. But there are full stack web development courses offered by Coursera right now, and it is a specialization. Okay. Oh, and thanks for the great course. Okay. Back here.
Question time.
Got it. I've never done the Hangouts before, but I actually just got a direct message from somebody that asked, it seems like they're having some trouble trying to access from their phones. So it might be a little bit easier to access from your laptop or a desktop. It looks like you might need an app, a Google app, in order to access it from your phone. So we're going to plan on doing these office hours a little bit more frequently now that I've finished taping all the courses, probably at least once a month. The next one's going to be March 30th. So if you're having some trouble here, again, I'm always happy to answer questions on Twitter, but it's always nice to get a little immediate feedback and also follow up if you have any questions. All right.
Check chat just real quick, because sometimes people
Yeah.
put things in chat.
Let's go check over here. All right. Now, I am not sure if the number of viewers is currently or during the entire office hours, so we'll kind of take a look as we go in there. The good news is that must mean all my lectures are so perfectly clear that nobody has any questions. Yay me. Here. Do that then. All right. Over here, let's do this.
some questions.
All right.
Hello.
Well, hi back from Kosovo, isn't it? I'm trying to do the math in my head, but it must be kind of
Where's
later in the
Kosovo?
Kosovo?
Yeah.
It's in Europe. It's like Eastern. You're going to make me look bad if I get it wrong, but Kosovo. So I'm thinking they're at least 8 or 9 hours ahead of us. So right there. So
8 or 9 hours? So it's like.
It's at least, and it actually might be more like 10. I'm trying to do the math in my head, but.
Because in Japan, it's like 12. It's like midnight now.
Yeah. Well, my brother's in Singapore, so he has an excuse for not watching me right now because it's 11 o'clock at night. But I'm going to guess Kosovo, it's.
Maybe like 5?
7. It's not 5. I always get confused. After living in California, we start to get confused as to the time zone. So
it might be 6 or 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Well, that's convenient for everyone in Europe. That's like after work, right?
Or everyone's already out eating and having a good time in Europe.
Well, that's discouraging. That's the first thing that comes up.
Oh, I didn't even look and see. All right, so I think that means it's 6 o'clock right now. Or 6 different. Oh, well, I'll figure it out later. Oh. So this is a good question. I have something here from Christina O'Sullivan. I'm going to select it. So one of the, it's about peer grading. So I'll just read it off in case anyone's watching and hasn't clicked on the Q&A. In our final JavaScript assignment, as we peer graded lots of exercises and have found solutions ranging from 6 lines of code to 15, is the concise code usually the best? So for instance, if somebody writes something in just 1 line instead of using 2 or 3. I'm going to be honest. I don't think concise code is always the best code. The best code is the kind that someone can look at and immediately understand what the other person's trying to do. So as long as no single line of code is completely, useless or irrelevant or, undoes something, I am perfectly okay with students writing 2 or 3 times the length. When you're first learning how to program, it means that you're really thinking it through and doing it step by step. And that's really important. Now, where I might step back from that is sometimes when you're first learning to program, and I did this myself, you just start randomly making changes. Maybe this will work. Oh, wait, maybe this will work. And if you see somebody doing that, you really kind of want to reach out to them and mention that, lines 2 and 3, you didn't really need to do those. They didn't add anything to the program. But in the spirit of this web design for everybody, I don't think anyone should be penalized or necessarily even rewarded for doing something in the fewest number of lines of code possible. But that's a really good question. It also kind of comes the idea of the peer graded assignments. If you're going to be taking the, actually any of the courses, I'm going to move in the peer graded assignments away from making them mandatory and making them optional instead. Not because I don't think they're very important. I think the assessments are the most important part of any programming course you're going to take. The reason I'm going to make them optional is because it's really hard right now to make sure that you're actually being graded by peers because there's such a wide range of people taking the course. So my hope is if I make it optional, only students who are really excited and kind of interested in learning the material will bother to submit. And they'll bring that same kind of enthusiasm to grading the other people's assignments. So right now, when you're peer grading, as long as it's correct, you should give full credit. And always feel free to give helpful feedback because a correct is much less helpful to the other person than correct, but think about this and that. But thanks for the question. And while I'm hanging out here, if you are viewing, it's always great for me to kind of know, even if it's not a question, but just kind of letting me know which class you're taking right now, if any. Some of you may just be logging on to see if you want to bother taking anything at all. If you're in the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript, and or if you're thinking about taking the responsive design course. Sometimes it helps me to just kind of know when I'm talking with people which course they're in right now and which parts they found the most beneficial, or parts that you think, Colleen, I like this idea of making peer graded optional, or no, leave them alone. I want everything to be required. And so I'm going to go ahead and just in case you've never been on one of these before, I will kind of go back and forth and click on the question and answer or the chat, and also just the comments section to see if we have any reader out there and if they have any questions for me. Oh, I got another direct message here. Interesting. All right, so let me go ahead and type in the question that someone is trying to ask me. I'm asking a question. What was it again? Oh, okay. Okay, so I've got another question right there. Let me start with, thank you, Christina. You're full of great questions. I appreciate you right now. The question is, are Coursera courses updated after each series? For example, in the JavaScript course, actually, if a JavaScript course has databases with Python titled slide, does that get fixed between courses? This is a really interesting / challenging thing about Coursera, in that right now, the way that my courses are being offered is that there's no actual break between courses. Each course is designed to be 4 weeks long, and there tends to be a rolling cohort. So every 2 to 3 weeks, a new group of students joins in. So at no point is my course ever not live. And so this has been introducing some interesting changes as far as what we can update and what we can't update as time goes on. Things like slides, if I were going to have to retape the entire one, we haven't done things like that because I've just finished creating content. So there's something called a breaking change. So when I go in and as I said, I'm going to try to change a lot of my assessments from being mandatory or required to optional. We're going to have to turn off the course for at least a few hours, if not a few days, make those changes and launch the course again. So I'll send out an email to all students beforehand, because you expect the course to be there all the time. That's one of the benefits of this rolling cohort. And so we're going to have to let you know. And we are hoping in late March or early April to make some fairly significant changes to the CSS course, followed by the JavaScript course about 2 weeks later. But right now, it's really difficult to change anything because the course is always live, and that's been interesting. Okay. I hope that answered the question. So your answer right now is, I haven't fixed much. I've been so busy creating content that I haven't fixed a lot, and that's kind of my goal for the next 2 months, is to fix a lot of the content where I had typos or I just completely misspoke. People nailed me on a lot of those ones. Spend the next 2 months doing that, and then we'll have a big enough group who've gone through the series that we can launch the capstone. Okay? Thanks. All right, I think we're going to go and delete this one because it looks like the person made it through. All right, so we have a question from Kelly Collins, And the question is, can I get a job as a programmer after this course? And the answer is no. It's very unlikely after these courses that myself will have taught you enough to be sufficient as a programmer. My goal in these courses is to really get people up to speed where they can go on and they can take additional, maybe more complex courses, or they can go on and they can volunteer as a tutor or a GSI, sometimes we call them, for free classes. There's something called Girls Develop It in Ann Arbor. And I know a few of my students and myself, what they do is they're not qualified to teach the course, but they are qualified by sheer fact that they've made the same mistakes, that they'll go in and they'll help other people learn at that same basic level. If you want to get a job as a programmer, particularly a web developer, after you take this course, once you feel comfortable with HTML and CSS and JavaScript, and you're not really worried about going in there and getting your hands dirty, you'd want to take something called a full stack development course. And that's where you learn to do both the front end, which you'll feel okay with, and what's called the back end. That's when you learn, hey, in JavaScript, I learned to make this cool form, but nothing happens when I hit submit. The back-end development can take that information, it can store it into databases. You learn things like SQL and relations and things like that. So this is not, I've really tried to stress that this is not a course to take if you're hoping to get direct job skills that you can do as soon as you're done. This is a course to take if you really aren't comfortable with technology right now, or you are, but you feel there may be some gaps. This is a great way to just either get your, kind of get in there, play with the code a little bit, and understand what other people are talking about when you hear programmers talking. So thanks, Kelly. All right, we check the chat. Great. All right, that one. And head back there. I'm laughing at the screen capture for this because, of course, I look like it's not my best picture, but Coursera's managed to capture that on quite a few screen capture shots of me. So as those of you who got my Christmas card can attest. I never showed that to you, Sai. Mm-hmm. Check over here. Of course.
There you go. Two new ones.
Okay. Let's go and start with the Kelly's question. Kelly is, oops, oh yeah. What can I expect from the upcoming responsive design class? Thanks, Kelly. The new course that's coming out in about 2 weeks is called Responsive Design. It builds on what people have learned in the styling course from course 2. In course 2, you learned how to make pages, look pretty good. We added colors and different fonts. We could style a lot of different things. But one of the things that's basically required nowadays, if you want to make a good website, is it has to look good on both your phone and your laptop and your tablet. There's some sites you can go to, and if you go to them on your phone, basically it's almost impossible to read because it's a full-size site that's shrunk down really tiny, and so you can't read any of the text. Or you go and you're on your phone again and it didn't shrink at all. So you find that you have to like scroll and scroll if you want to see the pictures. So in the responsive web design course, we're going to talk about different strategies you can use where you can write your own CSS to make things look good on different size screens. And we also talk about something called Bootstrap. And Bootstrap is a framework that a lot of developers use to create these responsive sites really quickly. And so the course is, I think, a nice mixture of theory and practical kind of application of what people are using right now. I'm also added something a little bit new. The final week, I've added some interviews with previous students of mine, as well as the head of media at UMSI, and they all talk about some of the lessons they've learned doing design over the past couple years as we've gone to this kind of mobile first or always designed for your phone first paradigm in programming. Okay, I've got a tricky question here about how online teaching differs from kind of the live teaching, or sometimes people call it residential experience. And is there any difference between teaching on campus and teaching online regarding difficulty? Okay, so let's start with the idea of the difference between teaching online versus, kind of in person or residential. I've found it really difficult to record my lectures for the online course because when I'm teaching, in live, I'm not just up there talking. I'm looking at people. I can tell from their faces what's clicking, what's not clicking. And it's a lot easier for me to kind of stop and tailor what I'm talking about. And here, when you're learning online, it's really up to you to realize, wait, I didn't understand that. I'm going to back up and replay what Colleen just said because it didn't make any sense. Or just you need to hear it a few times. So not having that immediate feedback between teacher and student, it really makes it a lot more difficult. However, teaching online has improved some of my residential or live teaching in that it's taught me to really break things down into small chunks. And so if I can do that same kind of thing in class, the really nice part is that we can do small chunk, work together, small chunk, work together. And when you're live and working with other students, it's so much nicer when you get stuck that there's somebody right next to you on the left or the right who probably got stuck on the same thing a few minutes ago or will get stuck on it in the future. And you can kind of work together to debug those things. As far as the kind of the future of online versus residential, that's a really good question. And it's a question that sometimes makes me a little bit sad because I feel like the residential college experience is going to go away for a lot of people. It's just so expensive. And people don't always have access to, to quality education that's close by and affordable. So I think this idea of having online classes, kind of like mine that are starter or on-ramp classes, I'm hoping what they will do is they'll make it that you can learn some of this on your own so that when you actually get face-to-face with an instructor, you'll be able to really pinpoint what questions you have. Like, okay, I've been looking at this. I've had a few weeks to think about it. I'm not hearing about it the first time while you and I are meeting right now. So my guess is that we'll go to a kind of a hybrid system where you do more and more learning online, and then you get together with your peers and you kind of hash out those problems. Also, the kind of beauty of the residential is online. I still really feel that we need to kind of somehow marry online courses with a dating website, just in that, we're not matching peers right now. We have people who've been, working for 30, 40 years and someone who's been out of the workplace or never been in the workplace. And it's really hard sometimes for them to relate exactly on the same level as to what their goal is for this course. If someone's just here to learn something because they want to know a little bit more, that's wonderful. But they're not there for the same reason who's like, I desperately need a job. I need this particular skill. So residential, it's easier for you to sometimes pair up as well. Okay. And lastly, as far as difficulty goes, I don't aim for a lot of rigor in this course. My online course covers about 50 to 60% of what I cover in a semester at U of M. But at U of M, because it's 4 credit, I have to spend more time making sure that people have done their own work and, putting in this kind of extra rigor to distinguish between a C and an A. And in a way, it's almost artificial rigor because when you're doing programming, you can always make things more difficult by yourself. You can go in and say, oh, Colleen asked me to do this. I wonder if I can do it this way instead. But it's more on the students to come up with their own kind of rigor. While in a residential, the instructors there kind of pounding on it, making sure a little bit more testing and assessment. Thanks.
I almost want to stop broadcasting. My mistake.
All right.
What does it say is spam? What's that?
I think you can list questions as, okay. Just checking, making sure no one got sent to the spam. I'll also check the chat. I was tempted to give my mom the link so she'd show up and ask questions, but then I would have had to do my hair, and I just couldn't get into it that much. Check. Oh, okay. I've got a question here from Dave. Hi, Dave. I know who you are. So Dave is asking when course number 4 is going to launch. Currently, we are set to launch that course on March 14th, I believe is Monday. It's already it's complete. We're doing beta testing. But as you know, the more testing we can do before it gets launched to the public, the better. I'm excited. It's the first course where I am making all of the peer assignments optional to kind of let students tailor what it is they want to focus on. So you can get by on the course just doing the kind of multiple choice fill in the blank questions, or you can really challenge yourself by doing the optional peer assessments as well. But my hope and my expectation is that if you do the peer assessments, you're going to go in and you're going to give some real helpful feedback to the other students. And by helpful, that doesn't mean telling them just what they did wrong, but also saying, hey, this is really cool. I like how you did this or that. Because this is one of our first assignments where you have a little bit more flexibility. In fact, at the end of the course, it's called an assessment, but it isn't really. I'm trying to put a place where people can post things they've been working on and get feedback. There's no requirements for it. There's no structure at all. It's just something for you to kind of show off what you've been doing. Because by the end of the 4th course, my guess is that there's some people who've created some kind of cool things. And if I can see those, it's really going to help guide what we're going to do in the future capstone. Okay, I've got another question. What do I like about teaching Coursera? It's a good question. This is new for me, this whole idea of Coursera. I've taught at a lot of different places over the past 20 years. I've taught at Cal State Long Beach, where I had a really strong kind of first generation college student campus. I've been at business schools where I taught people how to use Word and Excel. And now here at U of M, I teach web design and programming. But for the first time, I've been teaching it to non-majors. I'm not actually in the computer science department. I'm in a different department. And so what I found that what I like is I just like this idea that if there's somebody out there and they need some help, what can I do to help them? What can I do to make sure that people realize it's okay to be nervous about learning new things in technology. I'm nervous. Every couple of years, they tell me I need to teach something completely new. And my first reaction is, but what if I don't know how to do it? You can always learn how to do that. And so what I like about Coursera is that people for free can go on and say, you know what, I might be interested in this. Let's go watch a few videos and find out if it's worth my time to put in a little bit of effort to learn it. So I really like this idea that I'm out there, I'm kind of doing my part to help people learn, because I know that when I was going to college, I really benefited from tuition, from fellowships and scholarships, and not everybody has that. So if I can pay it back a little bit and try to provide some education to other people, I'm going to feel like I earned those fellowships and scholarships I had in undergrad and graduate school, and I'm doing my part to really make sure that everyone has access to understanding technology.
I'm gonna put this do not disturb on.
Check over here. All right, we're loading here for a second. All right. Dave's like a plant out here, it's going to seem like. I've got Dave out there asking, it's not letting me select that to answer. Give me 1 second here. Here we go. Okay. In addition to completing courses 1 through 4, is there anything else I can do to prepare for the capstone course? So the capstone course is going to be very free form. In the capstone course, you're going to design your own portfolio. It can be about anything you would like it to be. I've heard from one person who's been creating a portfolio for his daughter who's going to be graduating soon, and so he wants to do something for her. I've heard from other people who are getting married and they want to make their own website for their wedding, for their guests, to kind of follow things like that. Other people might be trying to come up with more of a kind of resume or portfolio of their work. In this capstone, you're going to be able to do any of those things. So if you wanted to prepare, my recommendation would be to start, you don't need to code right now. I would start sketching out what you want your future site to look like. Particularly in the responsive course, we learned that sketching out your site isn't about sketching out a single picture. It's a sketch of, hey, this is what I want my site to look like if somebody comes on their phone, and this is what I want my site to look like if they come on a laptop or a desktop. Because there's really some different issues there. If someone's coming on their phone, maybe you don't need that super high resolution picture of yourself kind of front and center, because it takes too long to load and it just takes up too much time. So you can start sketching out some of the ideas that you might think are cool. And if you're not even that far, you're like, I don't even know what I want to look at, I would actually just spend some time kind of surfing the web and looking what other people have done and going, hey, that looks cool. How can I take that? How can I borrow from that? And if you can come in with a kind of idea of what you want it to look like and also what you don't know. Hey, Colleen, you didn't cover this one part. I'm looking at some code and I don't understand what this word data means. Can you explain it to me? If you can come in with questions, I think it's going to really help you make the most out of the capstone, because this is your chance. This is, hey, Colleen's going to be meeting with us. We're going to have these special office hours, probably on about a weekly basis. You're going to get a lot more hands-on attention so that we can help you create something very specific that you want to build. It's not going to be another, hey, here's a screenshot. I want you to rebuild this. It's going to be, first, send us your pictures. Well, I'll look at them and say, that looks good, but it doesn't really look accessible. And then after you've done your pictures, we're going to say, okay, let's start coding. Let's start making some of those decisions about which parts you're going to code and how you're going to code them. Okay. I'm just going to really quickly check the Twitter feed just in case. So we've got about 10 minutes left in the office hours. I do, just in case people kind of take off and leave, I did want to thank them for showing up for my first office hours. We're going to be doing this again on March 30th. The difference then is by March 30th, the responsive course will have launched. And so I'm expecting there may be some questions about, the new course, as well as how things are going with the peer graded assignments. There may also be a chance that that'll be just about when I'm going to start revamping a few issues in the CSS course that I'd like to take care of. It's so hard to grade things because hopefully what you're learning is that there's no right or wrong way to create a web page or to style a web page. And so because of that, when you look at other people's code, it can be confusing knowing whether they did it the right way or the wrong way, or whether you did it the right way or wrong way. So the more of a conversation we can start getting going in these peer graded assignments and in the forums about not specific answers, but kind of more theory, that's really going to help people out. I've also added into the course, you can have discussion prompts now. So it's very easy to watch my videos and be like, got it, got it, got it. I want to put in a few questions here and there that'll make people think, oh, wait, I completely understood what Colleen said, but do I agree with her? Because it's perfectly okay to disagree with some of the ways that I happen to program, because there's a lot of different people out there, a lot of different approaches. And so you starting to think about what kind of approach you want to take, it's always a good thing. And I will definitely make sure to bring water to the next one.
I'm going to grab your water.
Sure, I can hold down the fort for 10 minutes. Just don't lock yourself out. And if there's anyone still watching out there, I have a question, which is my daughter wants a cool Harry Potter themed bedroom, and I desperately don't want to spend money on Harry Potter themed bedroom stuff. So feel free to give me suggestions. Okay. Thanks. All right. I think we do that. I did email Chuck Severance and ask him what he does during dead air time. And of course, his reply is, I've never had any before. So next time I'll bring a guest with me, and then I won't have to worry about that. Chuck's a rock star. So yeah. Thanks for making me feel bad, Chuck. Thanks.
it's not like lectures where you can entice students to come for free food.
I know. I bring free food. I bring little candy bars. Well, this was real. One of the questions was, what's the difference between online and residential? If there's a homework assignment with 5 minutes left to go in office hours, this is when 12 students would suddenly show up with 5 minutes left to go. Mhm. All right. That one. Oh. I got an answer to my question about how to decorate for Harry Potter. I put out the question of what can I do to decorate my daughter's room, and I should definitely mention that if I were to ever go on Pinterest, I'd be one of those people who do the Pinterest fails because I have no creative type art skills at all. So if any of you ever get frustrated because it seems like I know what I'm doing out there in the programming world and you don't, feel free to know that whenever I leave the programming world and I need to do things that involve scissors or paper or crayons, I'm pretty much completely inept. So, all right. What do you think? Pretty much time to end out the office hours, or do we?
You got 3 more minutes.
No, we got 3 more minutes. Thank you. You're mean. But all right, Dave, you're nice out there. All right, Dave's got one final question for us right here. Can you speak to the ungraded peer assignments versus the peer graded assignments some more? In the first couple courses that I released, we had peer graded assignments where students would upload their code, and I'd include a kind of a rubric as to did they do this or that, how complete was it? And so the idea was that peers would, give feedback, let them know, and they would pass once their peers gave them kind of the thumbs up. The issue is that just sometimes with the peer grading system, when it's required, you're really hoping for some general, some good feedback on it, and people just weren't giving it. It was just, and in the worst case, they would give them, failing marks, but with no explanation as to why. I think this was really frustrating for the students. And one of the things I don't want to see is I don't want to see students get frustrated over things that are beyond their control. To be honest, I'm completely okay with you getting a little bit of frustrated when you're trying to learn how to code. You're supposed to get frustrated when you're learning how to code. That's part of the learning process. But getting frustrated over, the actual logistics, I want to move that out. So the idea with the peer graded system is it's not going to magically fix everything by making them optional. But now it won't hold you back in the course. You can still pass the course if people give you low marks graded. My hope instead is that now that it's optional, I'm hoping that people will only choose to do them if they're really invested in the idea. Because we have some students out there who are really giving it their all. They're on the discussion forums, they're helping each other out, they're peer grading way more than they need to. And so my hope is that we can kind of channel this enthusiasm so that people are grading not only because they want to get a grade themselves, because they want to help others and give them really positive feedback on both what they're doing right and what they might be doing wrong. Okay, and now it is 12, so I think I'll go ahead and log off for today. I learned a lot on the online office hours. Thanks for coming to my first one. I will definitely learn from Chuck and maybe have a guest speaker next time, or prep out a little bit more to have some questions so you don't all have to sit through so much dead air. But thanks for joining me. And again, I look forward to having you in my class. Thanks. Can I hit stop?
Yep.